And I said, many of us just work to get it over with. Let's get it to 5 o'clock. Let's get it to Friday. And I remember he corrected me. He said, no, Jim, it's not a third, it's a half. He said, you sleep for 8 hours. And I believe that is so true, what this 18-year-old told me. I'd much rather have you fill your day, rather than just to get it over with, how to make your day more fulfilling. I had a man in Portland who works in a plywood mill. And when he was in the course, he talked about he's just putting through his time. He had 15 years to retirement, 15 years. And he said he was just putting his time through until he retired, because he got enough money to pay his bills and he knew what he was doing. When he left the pursuit of excellence, he decided instead of just going to his job, to invest in his job. And there was a big company meeting, and the owner of the entire corporation brought him up on stage and called him the company hero. And not only that, he came up with an invention to save the company money. And every time they use his idea, his invention, he gets a percentage of every time it's used. So not only does he enjoy his day now, but he's making far more money than he used to. And the difference was he got involved. He started to participate. Next is about creating agreement, which is basically about clearly asking for what I want. I think many of us are very uncomfortable with asking for what I want. I think many of us, instead of asking for what we want, hint about it. Just like instead of asking for a raise, we kind of stand around the boss and say, you know, the company sure is making a lot of money these days. Any idea what you're going to do with all of it? Or we tend to think and feel for people. We decide what people are going to say, who's going to say yes, who's going to say no. Just as simple as back at the 8th grade dance, me walking around with my buddy saying, okay, she'll say no. Well, I'm sure she'll say a no. I hope she's a no. And I would spend my whole evening walking around with my friend, And some people danced. And the difference is they asked. And I think that's true in any place you go. The people that tend to get what they want are the people that ask for it. Just like the people that get the raise, the people that get the job are not usually the people most qualified. They are the people that ask in a way that the boss heard. I think it's always been that way, always will be. Is to be extremely comfortable asking for what you want. Because just like I believe effective managers are the ones that create agreement. Just like I want you to see the value in giving your best here today, I want you to see the value in showing up on time, is about creating agreement. Because think of, how do you tend to get even with one of those authoritarian bosses, ones that if you don't do your best here, you won't have a job here anymore. The three most common ways we get even with that kind of a manager is through turnover, we leave, we give less than our best, we give enough not to lose our job, or through negative undercurrent. We go to the other employee and say, okay, do you like the boss? Okay, you do. Never mind, brown noser. So if you're one of those kind of bosses, you're right, you're in control, and you're paying for it every day through lack of productivity, turnover, and undercurrent. Even in effective parenting, I believe, is about creating agreement. I want to see the value in doing your homework. I want to see the value in cleaning your room. I want to see the value in never doing that to the cat again. Is about creating agreement. Because I promise your kids get even too. Sometimes they wait till you're very old, but they do. They do. So about effectively asking for what you want. Next is about support. Think of how many of you is it easier for you to give support to others than to ask for yourself. I remember first, I was so uncomfortable for me, the first time I ever went to somebody for support. I went to her and I said, you know, I have a hard time with this. And she said, oh, me too. And I said, well, tell me about it. I mean, that fast, I turned it around and was supporting her. I think it is so uncomfortable for most of us. And I think the main reasons, I think a lot of us have become these rugged individualists. Oh, just tape the leg back on and keep going. That's just me. That needing support has become weak. I had a self-professed Marlboro man in one of my classes, and he stood up and said, Jim, I'm very proud of the fact I'm very self-contained. I don't need anything from anyone. On Saturday of the course that I was leading, he came up to me and said, Jim, he said, I am that Marlboro man. He said, that's true. But he said, I'm so lonely. He said, when I'm scared, I don't have any place to go. He said, when I'm confused, I don't have anybody to ask. He said, I'm not the person on that side of support. I think another reason it's much easier for us to risk with their lives than ours is because go out there. If you lose your job, you'll be fine. I'm busy, of course, and I'd love to, but do it. And I think it's about safety, about image, about control. If you right now are a good support giver, I congratulate you. I believe that is a genuine skill. But what I want is when you leave this course, you're just as effective at receiving support as you are presently at giving it. So it works both ways. I had a woman in a course that she said, you know, Jim, why I like to give is I just enjoy the feeling of giving. And what she realized is how selfish she's been, that she doesn't let her friends have that same feeling. She's decided it works both ways. The next is about completion. Many of us are great starters. We love new stuff. Like the person who starts a new diet and says, you know, those pounds are going to melt right off. And then they feel what it's like not to eat for a couple of days. Or we get a new piece of exercise equipment, or we start a new exercise program. We say, you know, I'm going to be rippling in no time. And then we feel what it's like to exercise every day. We get the insight that it's harder than watching television. Or we meet a new person, we go, we're going to be together for the rest of our lives. And then it moves to, we're going to be together for the rest of our lives. I believe the merit of this course, and I personally believe the merit of an individual, is not how well do they start. To me, it's what happens when they hit the work. And this course was designed not just for, oh boy, at the end. It was designed for when they hit the work. That's when the course, I believe, really kicks in, is about completion. Because think how many of you have had all the insights, had all the tools, and still didn't do it? It was about 14 years ago I got the insight that I wanted to write and illustrate children's books. I thought what a wonderful thing to do, how creative it would be. I had all the pencils and everything. I didn't do it. I thought about it. I dreamed about it. When I got depressed, I wondered why I wasn't doing it, but didn't take the step. The missing ingredient for me, and luckily not the missing ingredient in the course, is we work on attitude. Something in the course we refer to as context.